All right, so you should have finished your personality test by now, tallied up the results, and all the other good stuff. And what the personality test is based off of is the idea of trait theory. And the Big Five test that you took is very much strongly influenced by this idea. And what it does is you should have noticed that you were ranked along a spectrum, along five different, kind of dimensions. And yeah, today we're just going to go through kind of the big five, bit of trait theory, and really kind of what your scores mean for you. And you'll get to find out my scores when I took this last year. So here's kind of really what these things mean. Um, there's my uh, score up in the right top left hand corner. And usually my O is 39, so my openness 39, conscientiousness is 27, my extroversion is 16, my agreeableness is 17, and my neuroticism is 26. So really what this is the traits that kind of go with it. So like for example, look at your O score. And really what it means is this, is if you score low, what that means is in general you are a practical conventional person that overall prefers routine. So pretty much if you score like 19 or less, um, then you lean towards that way. That's kind of your personality trait. Now, if you are somebody that scores high, like for example, I'm 39, I'm like 1 point away from a perfect openness score. Um, what this means is curious, wide range of interests, very independent, and very much interested in ideas and thoughts and stuff like that. If you remember back to the True Colors personality test that you guys did at semester, in general, people that score very high in green would score very high in openness. We're speaking in generalities. And then conscientiousness, this is if you're low scoring, you're kind of more on the impulsive side. People may look at you as careless or disorganized. Score on the high side, more hardworking, dependable, organized. Extroversion, my lowest score. Um, Quiet, reserved, withdrawn. Um, if you're somebody who scores high, in general, more outgoing. Warm, seeks adventure. They're the people person. I'm not a people person in general, especially when I'm in my default modes. Agreeableness, my second lowest score. Always thought this was funny. Um, Again, critical, unresponsive, suspicious. If you're somebody who scores low, if you're somebody who scores high, you're more empathetic. This is somebody that on the True Colors test, they score high in blue. They would score high in this on the agreeableness part. And then the neuroticism. Um, the little description it has tendency toward unstable emotions. Not not totally accurate, I would say. I would say I would say tendency towards negative emotions. Um, and again, if somebody scores high in this, those kind of emotions that people have, that are, that we deem as negative or see as negative, they would, anger, depression, those types of things. Sadness would actually be a better word than depression, but they're somebody that, they have a tendency more towards that. And again, somebody who scores low in it, they're more calm, even tempered. So So yeah, that's kind of, and again, the idea is these are different traits, and you can rank these traits based off of, how you think about yourself. So trait theories, and this is kind of the short version, are really based off of two assumptions. The first one is every trait is universal. It may look differently in different people. Like, one person may be, introverted in their own way. and somebody else may be introverted in their own way. Really, the idea of introversion, extroversion is really just based in this. People who are introverted, being around people drain them, and to kind of recharge, they need some alone time, quiet time, that kind of stuff. People who are more extroverted, in general, being around people charges them up. It refills their battery, and so again, that can look differently in with a lot of different people. But you look for certain little things that can tie it all together. You're not making grand pronouncements. You're looking for one small little thing that you can link to everyone. And again, and the other assumption is each dimension of a trait can be quantified. So, like for example, you did the test, you gave the test an honest shake. You are able to quantify if you can compare your scores to mine, or you can print off another copy, give it to your parents, give it to your brother, give it to your sister, and you can compare and contrast how you stack up with that other person. That's why I put my scores up there. So because sometimes people don't want to share with other people, but I don't care about my stuff. It is what it is. Again, that's my non-agreeableness coming out a little bit, and then a person's trait, remember, is their tendency to react to a situation in a certain way. Depending on, again, this is why I tell you, don't think about it. Don't imagine like where you are in a certain situation. This is why when you took the test, I told you go with your gut, because really what this does is this just establishes a baseline. I can put you in a situation where if you're not an agreeable person by nature, I can bring out agreeableness in you. If somebody is more assertive, they naturally score high, but you need on the agreeableness, but you need to be able to be assertive and be in essence score low for that moment. I can put you in a situation that'll make you score low if you were in that situation. And yeah, that's pretty much that. So the why is really this. When you are looking at somebody and you're trying to compare people, when you're trying to figure out why does this person act this one way and why does this other person act another way, this is really where trait theory steps in. What is seen in determining a person's trait? So, like for example, like when you're watching a movie or watching somebody on TV, or you're looking at your family member going, why are they doing this? You're probably having maybe having those thoughts. Maybe you're starting to get a little cabin fever. But for example, when you look at that person and maybe they're doing something that's rubbing you wrong right now, how do they act? What do they say? How do they sound when they say something? All of those little things, and sometimes those little things that can set you off, especially if you've been boxed up with people for a long time. What about, those are more or less symptoms, for lack of a better term, of their personality traits. And what you can do is you can look at somebody and maybe there's that person. Like there's this one person I know, he is very gregarious. Like he will walk up to you and talk to you about anything. The reason why he does that is he scores very, very high in extroversion. I'm willing to bet. And so yeah. And the next step, and this is kind of where we'll really start into the stuff for tomorrow, is why. Because with trait theory, it's good at telling you what is going on, but it really doesn't delve into the why is going on. And this is where the work of other theorists can come into place and stuff like that. So tomorrow and the next day, so we'll spend about 2 days on this, we're going to be looking at Sigmund Freud again. But instead of looking at kind of how he viewed development, even though I will kind of reference that, we will look at kind of his theory of personality. And the reason why we're starting with Freud is literally because he was the first to kind of try to explain personality as we understand it within psychology. But yeah, that's more for tomorrow. I won't get on that horse too much. And but yeah, that's pretty much it for this. And I will see you next time. Deuces.